Hello everyone, and welcome to our next adventure as we do our recap on our hiking trek in Nepal. Our departure from Kathmandu into Lukla airport was delayed a few hours because of the, they call it cloudy, I call it smog/pollution in around the Kathmandu airport.
People always said that the flights into Lukla were dependent on weather, and I assumed that was on the Lukla end of things.
Yeah.
Because the cloud, the mountains, the rain, the snow, turns out all the weather pollution is on the Kathmandu side.
Also, too, this was the first time where I realized the expression, the clouds have stone.
Rocks.
The clouds have rocks in them, really does ring true, and that is at Lukla Airport. The runway itself is about the size of a North American driveway. So that is my best description of it. Chris and I were fortunate enough to have a seat right at the very front of the plane, and they keep the cockpit door open, so it's quite dramatic for those.
And it's not just the size of the runway, it's that the runway comes out of nowhere on the side of a mountain, and the runway is not flat.
No, it's sloped upward if you're landing. I was on the side where you could see the runway, and Chris was on the opposite, so I kind of cued him. I said, okay, get ready, we're going to land soon. And I was just holding my breath. I'm sure I was white-knuckled. And the fellow that was sitting behind Chris even mentioned to Chris, dude, you missed the shot.
Yeah, I was too focused trying to get a stable shot at the front window, and apparently coming in from the side was just crazy.
Yes.
But
yes.
We'll show you shots leaving, which will show how crazy the runway is.
Yes.
So we arrived. Our guide met us along with a porter. We reorganized our bags. I'm not patting myself on the back or anything, but you see some of these porters, and by necessity, everything goes up these mountains. Toilets, sinks, drinks, beer, food, everything goes up on these people's backs, which is extraordinary. But in my opinion, bags, clothes don't have to be that way. And so you see some of these porters carrying up people's bags and things that would be difficult to roll around an airport. So we wound up packing our bags in a way that the porter, that I could carry it if required. So it was just a backpack. But man, these porters sure do work hard.
Yes, they really do, without a doubt. The slopes and the steps, and sometimes you're in and around different obstacles, whether it be yak dung or some of the water, slippery.
Yeah, as I like to call it, all the yaks and mules, that was Everest traffic.
Yes.
The rush hour.
Yes. However, the spectacular views along the way, every time you had to keep reminding yourself to just stop and take a look around, pinch yourself, because you really are in the Himalayas.
From Lukla, our guide and porter met us. We hiked for 3 or 4 hours on the first day up to a town called Phak Ding. And as you're walking, it's you expect it to be in the middle of nowhere, but it's fairly well developed. I don't know how they build these buildings, houses, restaurants, lodges, but they're they look like they were built here. Actually, some of them look better than they built here in Kathmandu.
Varying degrees of plumbing as well, and kitchens. Everybody has a kitchen, and they're more than happy to cook for you.
Yeah, there's some gas heaters for hot water, but some of them are solar, and I had no idea solar hot water could get that hot. So quite a bit of infrastructure. The second day, we hiked to a place called Namche Bazaar. That one took quite a toll on me. That was a long hike. But when you reach Namche Bazaar, it's like a little metropolis in the mountains. Again, everything's built by hand. I believe there is a helicopter landing port there, but
yes.
Everything again carried by people's backs, and it's just like this little city.
I also felt that once we passed Namche Bazaar, that's when there was the big change in temperature. It was kind of like you've passed over now into the mountains.
The Alpine.
Yeah, the Alpine. And during the day, it was quite comfortable.
Hot even.
Yeah.
The vast temperature difference between the hot and the cold. Even the low temperature. It was -2 maybe, but it felt a lot colder than that, at least to me.
Yes, and of course, when you're, depending on where you are, trekking up the mountain, you've got some steeper faces and more cold fronts on various sides.
So at Namche Bazaar, I think I was going to do a separate video, but why don't we talk about the Everest View Hotel? One of after Namche Bazaar, the guide was going to take us to look at the Everest View Hotel, but I think we had a rather cold night in Namche and decided, you know what, we're only here once, let's go all out. So we decided to book a room at the Everest View Hotel. What did you think of it?
So the Everest View Hotel was certainly a little hidden gem, and it had a fantastic lookout where you could actually see Everest itself. And that was when we arrived on the afternoon. It was quite cloudy, I believe, but did clear up later on. They did claim to have heated rooms. However, their term for heated rooms and ours was a little different.
They gave us 2 electric heaters, so they certainly tried, but I don't think insulation is quite popular up there.
No.
Which is strange because insulation's light, and if I were to carry something up a hill, it'd be insulation. The food at the Everest View Hotel was way better than I expected.
Yes. We were, some of the cooking up there, it was like 3 and 4 course meals. Every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Phenomenal food.
So
I'd highly recommend it. Most of the rooms are the same, basic room like what we had, 2 beds, a bathroom, supposedly a bathtub with a shower. When we were there was no hot water. I'm not sure if that was a technical issue. I think I heard a pipe broke, so we didn't get the benefit of hot water.
We got warm buckets.
Bucket, and we bathed ourselves.
Yeah.
But they do have a larger room that can sleep a group or a family. That was quite spectacular.
8 was.
And then they had a room that's themed for Japanese guests with beds on the floor and a table to sit at or kneel at. So they certainly cater to all people.
And most importantly, too, for the Japanese visitors, apparently we found out they have an issue with oxygen. So they have oxygen tanks for them readily available should the need arise.
So we're not making any claims that we were told apparently oxygen is often needed for guests from Japan, which they're an island, so they're at sea level, so I can sort of understand that.
Yes.
Anyways, from Everest View Hotel, another day's hike to Tengboche Monastery. Very, very rustic accommodations up there. There are only 2 or 3 lodges. The further up you go, I imagine it gets more basic. The monastery itself, worth seeing if you have not seen a monastery before, but because we came from Tibet, a little underwhelming. There were only 2 monks there. Again, can't take pictures inside, so we have nothing to show you. But again, if you've never seen a monastery, worth the hike, especially because Tengboche Monastery has an even better view of Everest. But again, if you've already been to Tibet or some other similar place and seen some big monasteries, the monastery itself is not the draw. And from there, we hiked back down, and how did that go? Was down any easier than up?
Going downhill can be a little challenging on the knees, but going downhill, I kept saying, wow, I can't believe we hiked up this way. We were awarded a split in the trail back, so we were able to see some new territory.
Yeah.
And then
very spectacular. And the video you're likely to see during this video is a lot of down, because quite frankly, it was exhausting climbing the hill. And so I didn't always pull out the camera, but if you see a shot of us going downhill, just imagine us going uphill and how much harder work that was. So the hike to Everest, 6 days was our round trip. The furthest we got was Tengboche Monastery. I'd say highly recommend. I've never hiked anything like that before. Everything was gorgeous. Everything was beautiful. The infrastructure, the people are fantastic.
yes,
The food was surprisingly good at all these little lodges. But I don't. It's obviously not something everyone can do. But if you can, you should certainly try.
certainly try, but don't underestimate how strenuous the trekking itself can be. We came across a number of people from North America, varying levels and degrees of ages and fitness levels. Keep that in mind if you are considering. You might want to get some extra training in there, do some running. Certainly visit your travel medicine clinic for your altitude testing or altitude sickness pills. and any of the other concerns that you may have before you get here, because once you're here, you're in the mountains and it's pretty bare bones. It's just you, the mountains, your thoughts, and your trekking poles.